Hi, I'd like to welcome everyone to the TOPUCU podcast, the first podcast of the TOPUCU podcast. I'm glad to be here this morning with Norm Mulder, the founder of TOPUCU.
Welcome, Larry. This is going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, but it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we want to talk about today is transformation. Transformation in a nutshell is what TOPUCU is all about.
It definitely is. Unlike most, programs, books, self-help programs, TOPUCU is really about transformation. It really is. It's about that understanding that there's three parts to transformation. And the problem is almost everybody tries to transform with steps 2 and 3. We talk about it all the time. Step 2 is I have an emotional event. Step 3 is I take an action. Yet until you change the way you think, which is step number 1, transformation hardly ever lasts long term.
I was reading just the other day, and one of the things that I pulled from that was that personal transformation is how we change aspects of who we are, what we do, and the life that we lead. It's both a journey, I am transforming, and a destination, I am transformed.
Yep. It's so metamorphosis is one of the words that's always associated with transformation. I look at that and I think about basically it's dying in one area and growing in another one. So I don't know if we want to tell the story about the caterpillar.
Yeah, let's go for it.
One of my favorite stories is about the metamorphosis, the transformation of the caterpillar. If you think about it, here's a caterpillar crawling around on a tree. It's stuck to one branch usually, eating away at leaves. And all of a sudden, when the time is right, it spins itself into a chrysalis if it's going to be a butterfly, a cocoon if it's going to be a moth, just in case they wanted to have all the personal information about exactly how it all works. But so it spins itself into this chrysalis, and then what happens is inside the chrysalis, and I'm not a scientist, so don't, you can fact check this. I'm just telling you what I've read and what I've learned. But the actual body of the caterpillar disintegrates into like a jelly goo, and it's almost like it's like just like this soft stuff, and that actually becomes the fuel for the creation of the new butterfly. And there's what they are called imaginal disc, and they tell me 50,000 imaginal discs that are the parts of the butterfly. So you have an imaginal disc, let's say that is the brain, the heart, the leg, the wing, and all that stuff. But by the time this jelly goo is absorbed and used by this imaginal disc, they tell me about 500,000 imaginal discs. And now this thing that crawled around, stuck in one area, lived this dependent life on this one little branch and eating these leaves, now has spun itself and is grown into this butterfly. Now, inside the chrysalis, the butterfly does all kinds of hard work with stretching and trying to, create strength in its body with the wings and the legs and all that stuff. And eventually, when it does break out of the chrysalis, it now has the ability and the strength to be able to fly away. And that's transformation in my brain. When I think about it, it's the caterpillar, this horrendous life of living on one branch that now has been turned into this beautiful butterfly, and they are beautiful, that is able to fly and to be free. So that's a little school lesson. And since I did really horrible in school, that's people that know me were going to think this is really amazing that I even know this stuff. So
Right. I think. Well, it's pretty amazing when we talk about transformation, because if we're honest with ourselves, and that sometimes is difficult for us to be honest with ourselves, we'd all say that we need to transform. And that goes for the person who is at the, what they may consider the top, and also for the people at the bottom. And that's what I think is so amazing about TOPUCU. And again, when we talk about TOPUCU, we're talking about the only person you cheat is you, TOPUCU. So when we say the only person you cheat is you, in this journey, in this walk, in this life of transformation, if we take shortcuts, we're the ones that are getting hurt by that.
Yep, exactly. So people we all have bad habits. I mean, one kind or another. A lot of times when I do talks, I'll start off by saying, "Hi, my name is Norm Mulder. I'm an ice creamaholic," because I do struggle with ice cream, and I happen to have all these wonderful grandkids, and I use them and abuse them. I tell them, you want ice cream, don't you? And of course they say, "Yeah, Papa, I want ice cream." So we all struggle with bad habits, and in order to have a complete victory over a bad habit to where we've actually transformed it into a good habit, we need to understand that there are certain tools and principles that people can use in order to do that.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads us a little bit into the next part of what we're going to talk about today is the routine and the habits. So when, again, I'm reading, and one of those things that really informed how you designed TOPUCU was just reading and trying to change. You realized that there was something going on in your life and that you could get to a better place. So just tell us just briefly about, what was kind of the impetus of why you started this journey of your own transformation.
Yeah. So 1967 grad from high school, barely got out. They tell me I was like in the bottom 2% of my class, and I probably was. But I had a lot of fun in high school. It was the 60s, man, so,
Sure.
Who wants to do schoolwork when you can be partying and having fun? So to make a long story short, I went through a whole phase of where from that I was going to go to college. I went to Vietnam, was a radio operator, came back as a garbage collector, became a firefighter. In the mid-70s, at age 26, I figured there had to be these tools and principles that I'd never been taught. And if you look at life, there's a universal question. And the question is, how do you get yourself to do what you don't want to do to become who you want to become? Mm-hmm. And there is a universal answer. It's just a horrible answer. And the answer is just learn to be self-disciplined. Those two words can actually change somebody's life dramatically. So as all this was going on, I figured out I'm going to read a lot of books, listen to a lot of cassette tapes back in those days, and figure out how this game is played. And if I could do that, I could transform myself from who I was and how I was raised, and I'd have an opportunity to break that generational curse. Dysfunctional family. It is what it is. Dad, alcoholic to beat the band. Mom, enabler. Older brothers, been to a correctional facility of one kind or another 4 times. Younger brother twice. And yet I figured if I could learn these tools that I could transform my thinking. And if I could learn to do that, then I could actually transform my life. Because everybody tries to transform, right?
Mm-hmm.
They all want to change bad habits. We hear about it all the time. And yet these emotional events of I want to get in shape, so an action, I join a gym, is steps 2 and 3 of transformation, like I said earlier. But until you change the way you think, you can't transform long term. So I decided to break that generational curse, so to speak. I was going to learn to control this brain to make this body do what it doesn't want to do, so I can learn to become who I want to become.
Yeah, and that really resonated with me when I heard that. I want to do the things I don't want to do, because most of the time, for me at least, the path to success is through a bunch of obstacles of my own making. So I don't want to do the work. I don't want to spend the time. I want to have the 6-pack. I want to be in great shape, but do I want to get up at 5:30 in the morning and come down to the gym? Do I want to do the things that I don't want to do so I can have that result? And one of the examples that I heard a long time ago was there was this particular person that's very successful in life, and he said, people say they want to be me. They say that they want to have what I have and do what I do, but they don't want to put in the work necessary, the work that I put in. They want to have what I have without doing any of the work. And I went, yeah, that's true, because that's how I am. I look at other people's success and I say, I want to have that success, but am I willing to put the work in to have the success today, the same work that they put in to have that success?
And there's universal principles and tools that people can learn and use in order to transform. And TOPUCU, the only person to cheat is you, is really about the thinking component of transformation. Mm-hmm. It's not about we're not going to go to the gym with you. We're not going to do all that hard work with you, but we are going to teach you how to learn to control your thinking. If we can, I figured in the 70s, if I could learn again some basic tools to control my thinking, then I could then follow through on habit change, and I would have an opportunity to change my routine, which we talked about a second ago. And if I could learn to control the routine, which is the key component in habit change, then I'd have an opportunity to transform from the caterpillar into the butterfly. Mm-hmm. And looking at me, I'm not talking butterfly, but I am talking about, life. The principles of TOPUCU did take me to another, ending that worked out pretty darn good. Sure. And in the course of time, we'll get around all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And let's talk, as we talk about routine, in this article, it said that we need to decide what needs to be in our routine. We need to set small goals, break each goal into smaller goals, lay out a plan, be consistent with time, be prepared, make it fun, enjoy it, track our progress, and reward ourselves. And when I read that, I thought, wow, that has so many aspects of what TOPUCU is made up of.
Yep. And it's really hard because right now I want to give a lot of the TOPUCUisms and teach people basically these 5 tools we are going to talk a lot about on this podcast over the weeks and months to come. There are specific tools that you can use to learn to control your thinking. If you can do that, then you can learn to control the routine. In the early 90s, when I was 45 years old, in 94, I actually, through a result of TOPUCU, and the principles of it, I should say, built a company that turned out to be pretty big. And I'm not going to talk a lot about that now, but I will tell you that being semi-retired in 94, I was home at night versus building my company. And in the course of about 60 days, I gained about 30 pounds. And I looked at my wife and I said, wow, this retirement retirement stuff doesn't work for me. And she goes, no, that bag of Cheetos and pint of ice cream you eat every day, it just doesn't work for you. I changed my routine. And as we go through TOPUCU, and I know we're doing a lot of teasing today, but the person that can learn to control the routine, when you have a desire or a craving, like for ice cream, for example, and the reward is you get to have ice cream, you've got these 2 components. Well, what bridges those 2 things together is the word routine. Mm-hmm. And as you talked about hard work earlier, and you talked about the pain, TOPUCU is an opportunity for people to learn these tools to be able to control your thinking while you're going through all that pain. So as I was going back and changing my routine back to the good eating I was doing before, yeah, it was difficult. It was challenging. I didn't like it. It was painful. But, the only person you cheat is you is a life skills program, again, that teaches you to do what you don't want to do to become who you want to become.
Awesome. And, it's wonderful because there are so many testimonials. And one of the things we want to do now is we're just going to share just this brief testimonial. So just listen to this. We'll come back and we'll just talk about it for a few minutes.
The testimonial that we got from Maya, and I'm not going to give last names or any other details, obviously, but she wrote us an email that said, I heard about the program from my long-term partner who was incarcerated in Ohio. We met when we were in preschool and grew up in a rough environment. He committed a crime at the age of 17 and received a lengthy sentence. When he was first incarcerated, he was constantly getting in trouble. He thought like a criminal. His mindset was survival and self-preservation. He was doing absolutely nothing to be productive. It's been 30 years since he went to prison, and a few years ago, I noticed this peaceful presence when I would go to see him. He sounded different. He walked different. He talked different. He looked different. It was like he was a new man. He was calm, focused, confident, and spoke with a place of empathy instead of anger. His new way of thinking about things was refreshing. I never asked about what he was learning or doing, but knew whatever it was helping him to be the man he was always supposed to be. Recently, I had changes in my life. he noticed the changes and said, you can either do something or nothing. It's up to you. When I asked, he told me about your program, which is TOPUCU, and how it changed his thinking and the direction his life was headed. So I got on the website and searched for what he called the hardest but best program I've ever done for myself. And then she goes on to talk about, can we send her the program, which we did. So just one example of transformation. Again, it all starts with thinking in your brain to make your body do what it doesn't want to do.
Wow, that's really going to lead into the podcast that we're going to do next, which is going to talk about the different segments of folks that TOPUCU kind of points towards. And there's no one excluded from these, but there are some definite areas where TOPUCU really shows a benefit. And one of the things that she pointed out to us is in corrections. And I know that we've had quite a few people in corrections take advantage of the TOPUCU program. Do you have any numbers of how many folks you think may have participated in TOPUCU in corrections across the country?
That's challenging. I can tell you we've done 75,000 people by book because I know how many the printer we use printed. So that's a start. But we're also on several tablet companies. Companies have tablets inside correctional facilities for educational purposes and phone calls and things like that. And I don't know how many we've done on there, but I can give you a rough guesstimate, and it's about 200,000 people that we've done on tablets. And that's, again, that could be one tablet does 10 people in the course of a year, and another tablet does one. So again, pretty rough numbers. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty phenomenal. Well, when we get back together the next time, we're going to get into that a little more detail. But when you were just listening to Maya, and one of the things that strikes me about that is here you have a guy in a correctional environment that shared this with his family, shared this with someone he cared for on the outside, and then this made a difference in her life as well.
We get those emails and letters a lot where somebody's now learned these tools. And again, in the game of life, there are certain principles that work, period. If you can learn what the principles and tools are, and again, sorry for the tease, but you can actually transform your thinking and then therefore transform your life. Change the routine, end up with total transformation.
Absolutely. One of the things that we challenge you with today as we get ready to depart is to go to the TOPUCU website, topucu.com. Take a look at that. Just look at some of the principles and think about them. That's the first step, is to start ingesting the information. It's not about information, though. It's about transformation. But that information is going to help build towards that transformation. So our challenge today is to just take that next step to become the person that you want to become. And I want to thank you, Norm, for the time, for the information, for the heartfelt work that you've done in TOPUCU to help people transform their lives.
Well, appreciate it. Appreciate you. And next time we're going to talk a lot about who we're going to have an impact on. It's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. Thank you.